Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tapestry of Connection. I'm your host, Gena Frances, and today it is my honor to welcome Rachael Thompson from Reiki with Rachael. Rachael is an intuitive channel and energy healer, and she has an amazing set of healing modalities and things that you can check out on her YouTube channel, Reiki Rachael. So welcome, Rachael.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
I have to just sing your praises a little bit before we get started, if that's okay, because a friend of mine found you, I think, in like 2019 or something on YouTube. And she said, you've got to listen to this lady. You've got to listen to her. Her Reiki is amazing. And she kept telling me. And then one day I finally went to your channel and I was like, oh my God, like the energy that's coming through is so powerful. So I think I've been following you on the channel and listening to your healing and all the things that you offer probably for, I'd say probably 4 years now. And I tell absolutely every single person that's a friend of mine, I'm like, this is where you need to go. She's got 10-minute meditations. She's got long meditations. She's got meditations for all kinds of things. And she channels different messages. So you've really played a part in sort of my development and my healing. And that's why I was so excited that you did my Reiki Master attunement, because I really resonate with you and you give so freely of yourself to everyone. And I just want to say thank you for all that you do.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So when we get started, I usually like to ask people how they came to this type of work. And I know a little bit about your background, but why don't you share sort of what it's been like on your journey to get to this place? Were you always intuitive, or is it something you developed later in life?
I was always intuitive, but I didn't know I was. And I feel like a lot of people who are naturally intuitive can relate to that. When you just see the world a certain way, it's just how you see it. And you don't realize that that's intuition a lot of times. So when I was probably like fifth grade, I got really into it was because the movie The Craft. It's when The Craft came out, the movie, and I got really into tarot cards, and I was like, oh, I'm definitely like a witch. And I remember getting a pack of tarot cards at Spencer's, the store Spencer's.
I remember.
And I would do tarot readings at the lunch table, and it was just it was always there, but then kind of peer pressure, and I wanted to fit in. So I kind of just let that go. It just was a part of my journey. And I'm like, oh, well, I want to fit in with the cool kids, and they're not doing that. So fast forward many years, I was working at a job that I did not like. It just was not a fit. And I was determined to find my life purpose. And I didn't know what that was at all. And so I moved to a different state. And I was like, I'm not going to get a job, or not a job in the field I was working in, but I'm going to find my life purpose, which looking back was incredibly ambitious, and it was very stressful. And somebody had told me about Reiki years before, and I had no idea what it was, but I was like, I'm so stressed out. I feel like maybe Reiki will help me. I got my first session. I did not research it. I had no idea what they were doing, but I know that for the first time I felt really, really good. For the first time in a long time, I felt really good. So I just kept going back and getting Reiki. And where I got Reiki, they had a school. And I was in school for Reiki from Reiki 1 through Masters for 2 years. It was a lot of hands-on practice. And during that time, I'm deep diving into my spiritual awakening and still trying to find my life purpose. I opened up a pet sitting business, which I enjoyed, but I knew that wasn't the end. I knew I was getting somewhere else. So go through 2 years, a lot of self-work and self-discovery. And after I graduated with my Reiki Masters, I was like, I really, really feel that I'm supposed to be doing this. I love this more than anything I've tried. It feels right. But I had a lot of limiting beliefs around it. And I remember listening every day for 1 week to a law of attraction meditation. And it was just, I would focus on me being a Reiki master. I was, but I needed to come to terms with what that meant. and then having my own practice in whatever way that meant. I listened to that law of attraction meditation every morning for 1 week. And then I was like, boom, 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 slammed with downloads, like honestly, step by step. It was like, set this up, do this, do that, do this. And within, I want to say a few days, I had everything set up. And I remember getting my first client the same day. Like I had my website up, I posted a video, and I had my first client. And I was so used to failing in my attempt of trying to figure out what my thing was, that whenever I got the PayPal notification that somebody actually paid me money, I thought I was being scammed. I remember going on my PayPal and being like, oh no, somebody scammed me. And then it took me a second, I'm like, no, somebody just paid me. So that's awesome. That was kind of my sign of like, this is aligned. So the rest is history, I guess.
And so when you were going through, like you got a master's in counseling, right, before you came on this path. So in some ways, there was some sort of aspect of healing that was already being incorporated in your work, even though it maybe wasn't the right alignment. I experience that a lot with people I interview, that they're in the helping professions before they come into this part of the work, whether it be nursing, whether all kinds of things where you're being of service to others. Was that around the same time you started developing your Reiki practice, or was there a period of time in between?
That was before. And it is interesting how many healers go into the helping profession, because we have this innate calling to help, but whenever you're raised with only so many options, it's like, well, it has to fit into one of these options. I didn't know it was an option to be a Reiki practitioner. So I chose counseling, and I just could never find my place in it. It never felt right. I started working with children, teenagers, like middle school and high school age, because that part of my inner child was so wounded. And I think a lot of people can relate to this. Well, I'm so wounded there, but maybe if I help others, then that will help heal me, right?
Right.
So that's why I got into working with that age group. But that was before I realized I was an empath. And I remember being in these counseling sessions, and I took on everything. It weighed me down. I developed incredible anxiety, and I had no quality of life when I was doing that, because I couldn't separate it. So I said, that's not for me. Like, I need to separate myself. I just can't do this, at least not right now. So then I worked for a nonprofit. It was federally funded, and there was just a lot of things that I couldn't do because you kind of had to work around the ropes. And that's really when I was like, I don't know what I want to do, but I need freedom in doing it. And it needs to feel like it needs to click, right? I haven't found something that's clicked yet. And whenever I did find something that did feel a little more aligned, I was so restricted in what I could actually do. That was whenever I quit the last quote unquote real job that I had. There was probably, let me see, when would that have been? 2014. And then I started my Reiki practice in 2018. So there was a 4-year self-discovery gap. And I needed that to be in the place where I would be ready to actually practice Reiki.
And I have a similar thing. I didn't know I was an empath, worked in international news, very high pressure, lots of sadness and lots of destruction and lots of just very, very heavy energies. And I would be just so drained. Now, I loved being able to tell people stories. So there was a part of it that, kept me going, and the cultures and the people I would meet was always fascinating. But it really made a lot of sense once I figured out what an empath is. So I can completely relate to that. But what was it like when you were in that period of self-discovery? Because that's a scary place to be when you've taken a leap of faith sort of out, but you're not really sure where the road's taking you. So what was that process like for you?
Oh, it was like walking through the darkness. but I couldn't stop. There was like, I made the leap and there was just a part of me that I could not go back. It just felt like that door had closed, but I did not know where I was going. I tried many, many different avenues in terms of like the physical businesses that I tried to start. And it was really hard because I couldn't talk to anybody about it. Not that I didn't have supportive people in my life, but if I don't know what I'm going through, how am I supposed to try to explain it to anyone else? So I was in that point of my journey where like all my friends were buying houses and settling down, and I felt like I was regressing. I felt like there was a part of me that was like, you should be at a whole nother level of your life, but now you're just, walking in this darkness trying to find this path. And so that was, the shame part, the ego part of me that was speaking. But I had this deep inner knowing, like if you just keep going, you're going to get there. And it was challenging to just keep going for years. And not having much physically that I could show for it. I can look back and see everything that I gained, even the quote unquote failed businesses. I learned so much. The majority, 80% of the journey was all my internal transformation to get myself to be ready at the point where I could meet what I was calling my life purpose, right? Because I needed to journey to be able to be in alignment with it. But it was tough. And I really had to lean on that internal knowing more than anything else.
Yeah, I mean, I had a similar thing when I left CNN. I knew that door was closing. I knew that that was not a life for me anymore, but I also had like a 3-year period of just, I knew I was on a journey to something, but I didn't know what that something was. And it is a scary place to be because it doesn't make sense to the other people outside of you. But yet inside of you, okay, I know that I'm meant to go down this road. I have no idea where this road is taking me, but I'm just going to show up, put one foot in front of the other, and trust. And then every time, I don't know if it happened for you, but every time I would be like, I'm going to give up and go back and do what I know, something would click or something would change, and it would seem like someone would show up. Was that the same for you?
Yep. Anytime that I was at the point where I'm done, like I'm done, I'm not doing it, then there would be some sort of divine intervention every time. And like when you experience that, it's like, okay, I have to keep going. Like it's just that, because like the divine intervention, it's hard to explain, but it just gives you that like, okay, this is really what I'm meant to be doing. When I completely gave up and surrendered, then something higher stepped in to help me course correct. It's so interesting to reflect upon because I felt so much divine support at that time, even though that support wasn't being reflected in my physical reality, right? Like financially, yeah.
Same. It's
so
crazy.
You learn to lean on it. You learn to really trust it during those times.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing people say to you, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, I'm getting there. I'll get there, and you can tell you love helping people and you love doing what you do. I just really feel like when you find that zone, people come, the right people listen, the right people show up. And I'm very grateful that you didn't give up because, you're a tremendous healer. And I know we just move out of the way to allow the healing to happen. But I wanted to talk to you a little bit about how you learned your practice, specifically Reiki, and sort of going through that process, what that was like for you. Because some people still don't know what Reiki is. So maybe if we could take it back a little bit to sort of the basics of Reiki.
Yeah, absolutely. Reiki is a form of energy work. Whenever I'm first explaining it to people, I ask them if they know what acupuncture is. Because I feel like acupuncture is pretty mainstream, most people know. In acupuncture, you put needles at different meridian points. The meridian points are energy centers. You put the needle in there and it essentially moves the energy. It helps to move the energy. Reiki does the same thing, but you don't use needles. You just channel the energy. I channel through my hands. So the same underlying philosophy where if we're experiencing something physically within our physical body, mental body, stress, whatever that might be, at its deepest core, since everything's energy, there's an energetic root to it. So Reiki, I channel energy through my hands to help move that, to help clear it, to help channel healing energy into those areas that need healing energy. I studied Usui Reiki, was developed around the late 1800s, which I find really interesting because in the late 1800s, the early 1900s, is when we find a lot of shifts in our consciousness. That was the time period where people started writing books about essentially the law of attraction and how our thoughts create. The time period when Yogananda wrote Autobiography of a Yogi, where he talked about essentially moving energy through the chakras. This was just another modality that was introduced during this time.
Yeah, and it's interesting because there's also, there were several people like Florence Scovel Shinn and Emmett Fox and Neville Goddard and all those people. They were probably maybe more early 1900s, but there seemed to be this like influx of that. And I think it was channeled. I think it was channeled messaging that was coming through. So when you were first learning and when you were first doing Reiki, were there things that surprised you about the healing or things that surprised you about yourself?
Yeah. I really went into it with no expectations, and I believe that was the best way to go into it. Not because I was trying to go into it with no expectations. I don't remember signing up for Reiki school. Don't remember it. I just remember my first day there. So it's just like I just plopped into Reiki school and I'm like, well, I don't even know what I'm doing, but I'm just going to flow with it. So everything surprised me at first because I'd never really experienced anything like that. In Reiki, you had to go through attunements to open you up to channel the energy. And after my one attunement, I went to a yoga class the next day, and we're in Warrior 2. So like your arms are out in front of you. And I'm looking over my fingertips and I see beams of light shooting out of my fingertips. And I'm like looking around. I'm like, is there a sun catcher? Is this an optical illusion? Like, what is happening? I'm like, no, I think I'm actually seeing that. Like, that's really trippy.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I don't know. And so it's just so much of those experiences that really shift people. They really shifted me. And it's so hard to almost put them into words. And I know that you can relate to this. And I feel so deeply, you can read hundreds of spiritual texts and you can know the philosophy, but that is nothing compared to one actual spiritual experience. That is what turns you into a believer. Like, you can't deny these things that you're experiencing. It was such a journey of just experiencing doing Reiki on myself. And then whenever I practiced on others, and really practicing on others helped to validate and strengthen my own intuition, because I would pick things up a lot of times that were very specific. And then the client would tell me things exactly that matched what I was picking up. It's just so hard to even like put into words all of the amazing, crazy, trippy things that I've experienced on this journey.
Yeah, and it is hard to put it into words because it's so profound, and every way you would try to describe it can come out cliche or whatever. It truly is like you're awestruck by the power of the healing that can come through, and what, like, even at distance, because most of mine is done at distance. And first couple of times I would do a distance, they're like, wait, you can do it without me being there? And I'm like, yeah, I can, and I know a couple of people were hesitant, so they stayed on the phone while I'm doing. And then they were so shocked that they could feel it. It's like, it's this crazy thing where you have to experience it in order to sort of know what we're talking about. But I love it. And every day that I learn more and more and more and more, and it's a wonderful journey to be on. So talk a little bit now about what was it like for you when you decided to go sort of so forward facing with YouTube? Was there anxiety there for you about sort of putting yourself out there? Because I know I'm experiencing that with the podcast, and it brought up a lot of stuff for me that I'm like, oh, holy crap, I thought I healed that already, of like stuff as a child. And I'm like, well, I guess we're going to heal this too. So did you have any kind of things that happened for you that way?
Oh yeah. Yeah. What's the phrase? A new level, a new devil sort of thing. A lot of times you can't see those parts of yourself until you go to that next level, quote unquote, right? And then you're like, oh, that is still here.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see you. We're going to
Yeah.
work together. I will say, so whenever I'm trying to find my life purpose, I tried several businesses, and I remember going to this entrepreneur group, and that's like when Facebook was like really, really in, and they're like trying to push me to do Facebook. And I'm like, I don't want to, it doesn't feel aligned. And I kind of got peer pressured into doing it. But I always felt a call to YouTube. I felt a call to YouTube because I wanted to give value rather than just trying to like promote something. So I remember I can take myself back to that place where I'm sitting with all these entrepreneurs, and they're telling me like the best strategy to do things, and I did it and nothing came of it. And then I really had to ask myself, like, where am I actually feeling called? What feels good for me? And that was YouTube. When I was going through my spiritual awakening journey, that's where I got 80% of my resources was YouTube, or that's where I found teachers that I then took their courses or their programs. Like, it was all YouTube. So it would just make sense that that's the platform that I went on. But it definitely is, you posting a video and just being so terrified to like read the comments sort of thing, like, oh God, or judging everything that I said, or it's in terms of people feeling the energy, because I channel energy into my videos. The only reason I knew I could channel energy into my videos is because I tried it for myself first to see if it would even work. And then I felt it. I'm like, well, I'm just going to put that out there. And if I can feel it, I'm assuming other people can feel it too. So that I was actually surprisingly more confident in that than I thought I would be. But yeah, it's definitely been a journey. And I will say I could absolutely see how my own internal state would be reflected back a lot of times, and for desired and undesired things. So I would, if I was really like beating myself up and things like that, I would honestly see that be reflected back in people saying things to me. And then when I shifted that internally, then that also shifted. It's so, the world really is a reflection of us. But I remember thinking something about some sort of video that I put out and just having these specific thoughts about it. And literally there were just in the comments, those specific thoughts were like listed, like they were just like coming out and being reflected.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, it's definitely been a huge journey. I used to be very terrified to do like something like what we're doing right now. I would have so many nerves, let alone doing like a live on YouTube where hundreds or maybe even thousands of people are there. That I still get some nerves, I'm not going to lie, but it would almost be paralyzing for Rachael like 10 years ago. So really what I found was, first, it was a journey. It was a learning curve, many healing opportunities for myself. And then it was like every time I did that one thing that pushed me just a little further outside of my comfort zone, but I did it anyway. It's like I could see how those were like little breakthrough moments where I can look back to who I was 10 years ago and be like, there's no way I could be doing what I'm doing now.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's so true. And I think that part of the healing journey, I think, is learning to walk through the fear and doing it anyway. I mean, at least for me, that's been sort of lifelong. If I look back, it's like The fear, it's not, I think people mistake that you do it like there's no fear. That's not it. The fear is there, and then you walk through the fear, and then you realize the fear wasn't really as big as it seemed looming over you, and then you heal. And so I think it's important for people to realize, even when you're doing this type of work, you're still on a healing journey yourself, parallel to providing the healing to others.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
And anybody who wants to, be a healer or do what you and I are doing in any sort of capacity, you don't have to be completely healed or perfect or at like guru status.
Right, right. And I have observed, maybe coming from my frame of reference, where I always revered the psychic work and the energy work, and like, oh my God, they're so different than me. They're so like my teenage self or my early self. So part of what I'm doing this is like, no, we are normal, regular people. We are all normal, regular people. Yes, some will be more famous than others for their work because that's part of their life path. My dad used to say, everybody puts their pants on one leg at a time unless you're just very bizarre. But, so it's good to sort of pull back the curtain a little bit and say, yeah, it's a journey and you go through it. And the thing that I love is each time I grow and go that step up, you can feel when you go that step up and there's that moment of peace. And then there's more growing to do, right?
Right. Yes.
So I wanted to talk about sort of, because I've watched you over time and the evolution of your work. A lot of times now you do channeled messages. I know we're always channeling when we're doing the work, but like as far as the downloads that you get, that you share, when did that start happening, and sort of what is that like for you? Is it like your spiritual team shows up and says, hey, Rachael, like what is that like?
Yeah. Good question. And I can't remember when it really started. With Reiki, you get open to channel energy. And as I practice that more, it's like I channeled messages. And it was easier at first for me to channel the energy. So I channeled Reiki. And then I remember sitting by a lake and just contemplating where I was going next. And I got the download, if you can channel Reiki, you can channel anything. And the earth was like, you can channel me. And the lake was like, you can channel me. And I'm like, oh, didn't realize that. And that's whenever I started channeling. That was the first time I came on YouTube with a full moon activation. And I was like, I'm going to, in this, channel the energy of the moon. And it's a different frequency that you're channeling. So I started just channeling the energy of it. And then I kind of got more into, when you're tapping into that energy, then it's almost like the words of what you're tapping into form or they come out. Mm-hmm. So sometimes if I'm channeling an energy or a being, let's say like an archangel or a deity, sometimes they'll say, I want to speak through you. And I just hear that in my mind. I want to speak through you, and then I just kind of speak. Where other times it's more like a hybrid where I'm sharing messages, but then they're also showing me things in my mind. And then whenever I just do like a straight channeled message, not from like an angel or deity, but just from source, I tap into source. I go straight to the highest source, like above it all. And I always say, like, I go above all timelines and everything, just straight to source. Source, you know where the collective is. Tell me, is there any message that needs to come through for the collective right now? And that's how I get kind of the channeled. And sometimes it comes through really smoothly. And sometimes it's like I can just speak it and it comes through, and other times where it's like a little more spotty where I'll need to like journal it beforehand to really get the complete picture. So I don't have it down to a perfect science. I'm very open and fluid with it.
Yeah. And so if people are wanting to communicate sort of with their angels and guides, like it's important that they just, you can reach out and say, hey, I'm here and I'd really like to connect with you guys. I mean, you don't have to have some special power, basically. But the more you do this, the more you're able to turn the dial and get to the right channel. That's the way I kind of describe it to people. It's like back in the days to AM and FM radio, when more people listened to it, you'd have to turn the dial to get the channel clearer. It would start coming in before you got to the right frequency. And that's sort of how I look at it with how I'm learning and growing. I get closer and closer to the channel the more I put in the work. So would that be a similar way of describing it for people who are interested or maybe kind of toying around with wanting to get into this type of work?
Yeah, I think that's a perfect analogy, because like similar to what you said before, I thought that like a psychic was just a psychic. Like they're tuned in and that's just who they are. I also thought that like a lot of psychics always would know the answers and they were always, right about everything. And now that I'm in this practice myself, I understand that it's not that cut and dry or black and white at all.
Right.
But it's I think that I believe we all have gifts that we are able to tap into maybe easier than other gifts. So somebody might be able to channel really easily. They might be able to hear what wants to be channeled very easily, where another person might just have like a deep inner knowing or, so we all have these more natural abilities, but you can foster these spiritual gifts within yourself just by opening up and practicing to it. Like how you said, the radio station. And a lot of times it's like that. A lot of times at first you're getting these like muffled messages. And by muffled, I'm not really meaning that it sounds muffled in your mind, but rather they're so subtle, and then you have your own thoughts that are creating all this static, and you're like, wait, where's the truth? I don't know. And it's in that practice that you get closer and closer to that radio station that you're trying to tap into. Something I like to do, and something that I recommend if it feels aligned, is free journaling. So just asking that you're tapped into your higher self and only your higher self, and then putting a pen to a piece of paper and seeing what comes out. It might be scribbles, it might be a drawing, it might be words, right? So that was something I really did in the beginning that I think kind of helped me develop my skills.
Yeah, and it's the same when I'm doing mediumship or when I'm doing Reiki. It's that the messages, when they first start coming through, the human part of you will doubt, because that's normal. And the more you do this, the more you trust and the more the messages come clearer. But the first couple of times you might be like, is that me? Or is that spirit? Or am I really seeing that on their body? Or is that just me making it up? I mean, so there is an evolutionary process to get to the point where, the connection is that much stronger. So, and you're right. I do think, some people come in clair-knowing, clair-feeling. Like clairvoyance is my weakest of the clairs. Clairsentience is my strongest. And so you learn, just like in the gym, you learn to develop so that they're more aligned. And then eventually it just all becomes, it seems like to me, it all just becomes one thing. And whether it's audio, feeling, it's all working together kind of like a symphony to kind of help you get out what you need to get out. Do you find it works that way for you?
Yeah. I would say that I came in with my natural abilities. And then now, after all these years of working with them and opening the symphony is the perfect analogy, because it's kind of like, this is the best one to use here. This is the best one. It's, just like sometimes they're all coming together, not in an overwhelming way, but just filling in the different pieces of the puzzle. And then there's other times where it's like I have a toolbox, then it's like, okay, well, what tool is going to best serve what I'm trying to do here? It's this one, right? This is, feel or tap into your knowing. So the more you practice, it does kind of all come together in a much more fluid way than when you're first starting.
Yeah, and what you taught me when I'm going to do a Reiki session, I first call in my guides. They're angels and guides, ask for the greatest and highest good. And then it stuck with me. I surrender and I allow. Like I surrender and I allow. Because anytime my head would try to get in the way, I would say that. And it like over time that helped kind of just, so anytime I find that I'm starting to go off, into Gena's brain, I'll just say that. So thank you for that, because that has helped me tremendously in my practice of just trusting, and also you also say, and I believe it's true, the Reiki energy knows where it needs to go. It's going to go where it needs to go regardless of you. If you're the channel and you're open, it's going to go. You might put your hands here, but it's going to go where it's most needed. What do you say to people who want to get Reiki, but they're afraid of what it might do to their body? What would you tell someone like, oh, maybe I want to try, but I don't know. It's against the belief system, or maybe they're afraid. What would you say to those people?
First, I would say to find someone who you trust and who it feels aligned. And if you're not sure, like let's say you look up Reiki and you're like, I don't know who I should go to, then ask the universe for a sign and wait until you receive it. One of my favorite things to do is whenever I have a decision, sometimes I'll pull like tarot cards or things like that, but I'll ask the universe, if it is option A, then show me this. If it's option B, then show me that. So for example, I just did that I live at the beach, and so I had a decision. I'm like, if it's option A, show me a seagull or a pelican. And if it's option B, show me a grackle, which is like a crow. Show me a crow or a grackle. So birds that are very, very common here, very common. And when I tell you, when I set that intention and I saw none of those birds for days, like, really? Okay.
You're like, okay, spirit, come on.
And is it option C? I don't know. So then I think I knew the decision, but I had fear that I was like, I just want to double check. So I think I needed to relax my energy enough so that whenever I saw what confirmed what I knew already, that I didn't have that fear. And so that's what happened. I was like 4 days later, and there I saw not only one grackle, but like I went on a walk and they were everywhere. So the universe is like, it's this.
Okay, you're ready now, right?
Yes, here they are. Okay.
And I don't know if you find too, like sometimes there's something I'm not meant to know, right? Like sometimes we can read stuff and everything, but I'll get a thing like that I'm not meant to know, that I'm just supposed to experience it, and I'll still test it with like the cards and everything and try it, because maybe they're wrong, maybe they're not, and I'll just get like hammered with like, you will walk through it, that this is your path through. It's sort of like when people say, well, if you're psychic, why don't you just give me the lottery numbers? And it's like, because that's not your path. That's not your path. If it's not your path, it's not your path. But have you experienced that where you're like, I think I'll just check anyway?
All the time. I'm so stubborn. I'm like, I know you're telling me that I should just like allow it to flow. But let me just pull some tarot cards just in case. Or another thing that I have come up against that is almost equally as unsettling is whenever the answer is, what's your choice? And I'm like, but isn't there like a more divinely aligned choice? Is there better? Just tell me the best choice. And no, just choose. And that's also can be unsettling. It's like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah. So you talk about the collective a lot, and what the collective needs. And so I'm curious to ask what you think, where we are right now as a collective, sort of on the planet. It's a very interesting time without getting into too much. What do you feel, and what have you been feeling is sort of messages for the collective, or anything you could share of what would be useful or helpful for people dealing with difficult times and very polarized and charged times like we're in now?
Yeah. There's a lot. There's just a lot of noise, and there's in every area, in the, just if you turn on the regular news, or if you follow a bunch of spiritual channels and your feed is all that. Like there's just a lot of noise everywhere. And I've heard this from other channels, and I've certainly tapped into the potential of this future, but I feel it is a potential in the future that we're not doom scrolling. We're not like just taking in all of this stuff. Some of it helpful, some of it not, some of it weighing you down, like all of it. And I believe it's a future potential where we're not doing that any longer. And I feel right now, if I got the message one time where I was feeling really bogged down by a lot of the stuff I was seeing, and the message was, well, sweetheart, you're looking at it.
Right.
Like, we get it's bogging you down, but you're the one who's taking it in. I'm like, true. So I feel that is kind of a call right now of, can we kind of pull our energy back and get more? It's not like we're not going to be going backwards. We're very much advancing, but like, can we just get, like, the phrase touch grass that people say all the time now? Like, can we do that? Can we just, spend, moments in silence and let that silence be uncomfortable? And I've been feeling that since the beginning of this year, especially. And I hear so many people that I'm talking to, other healers, talking about nervous system work and really getting back in our bodies. When I zoom out, it very much feels like we have ascended so much spiritually, those who have been on this path, these awakening experiences. Now, how do we integrate that into our lived experiences? Like, no longer just trying to escape to the higher realms, but really, how do we invite the higher realms into our body? How do we feel safe? Something that has been a download that I've been getting for the last couple months is really just follow your joy. And I didn't realize just how much at times my body was uncomfortable with that. It didn't feel safe. It didn't feel like it was doing enough. When we think of high vibrational energies, their unconditional love and their peace and their joy, and I'm not at all trying to say like spiritually bypass or avoid the heaviness, but when you actually invite in, like, what do these feelings feel like in my body? Like, what would it actually feel like to be free, to be joyful, to feel like a powerful creator? Like, what does that actually feel like in my humanness? Not just reading about it. Then you experience within your body all of the other stuff that's there that feels very, very uncomfortable with that layer of healing opportunities, I believe.
And I totally feel that. And I have been feeling like, I've talked to other people too, like it's like my nervous system has just been going too fast. It's felt like it's just been going way too fast. And I'm like, what is going on? And I'll meditate. And I actually I was like, let me go see if Rachael, she trauma imprint, let me go download that and that was really good, by the way. It was amazing. But it was like, I gotta slow some of this down. And another friend of mine said the same thing. It was like, well, you've been working and you have to integrate it into your human, and a lot of times Reiki will bring up stuff for healing, right? It'll bring up stuff. And so sometimes that can be like, I know when I've had a Reiki session and just the energies moved and I just start sobbing, or the energies moved and I feel tired for the rest of the day. Eventually, I feel really good and balanced. But there are some times, right, when you're doing the Reiki, that when you break apart this energy, there's an integration period. And so can you sort of explain that for people?
Sometimes getting a Reiki session makes you feel really, really good. And then sometimes, like you said, it brings up the stuff. And I think a lot of times, and I've experienced this myself and I've seen it in others, where people then think they need more. I need to do another session. I need to do another healing modality or go to another breathwork class. And sometimes that's appropriate. Sometimes that's aligned. But sometimes you're just overloading you can get to the point where you overloaded your system with all of this new energy. You're trying to move the energy, but you never gave your body and your humanness that time to actually integrate what you did. So the stillness the rest, the integration is equally as important as the energy work, the moving of the energy. And I've experienced where I've gotten a Reiki session and I feel so good. And then for the next 3 days, I feel really, really bad. Nothing has harmed you from the Reiki. It's just that it moved stuff that was deep within your energy or deep within your subconscious. It moved it to the surface. And if you allow yourself to be with it, it flows. It's not just being brought up to the surface to make you feel bad. It's being brought up so that it can maybe be seen if you need to see it. Hold yourself with compassion and let it flow and let it move. And the same as, if you've been experiencing a lot of spiritual upgrades, your humanness needs that time. It's like if you go to the gym and you lift really, really heavy, and then the next day you feel really, really sore, and you go and you're like, well, I think I should just lift really, really heavy again because something wrong must have happened and I'm feeling sore, so let me lift really, really heavy again. And then you feel doubly sore the next day, right? The same with energy work. You have to give your body time to acclimate.
One of the things also that we're discovering now, or hospitals are discovering, they're starting to integrate Reiki into as complementary therapies. And there's just a study that came out, I don't know if you saw, from MD Anderson recently, and it's just in the lab, so caution, and this is not, to give any medical advice or anything, but they had people do Reiki and energy work on the cells in the lab. They were pancreatic cancer cells. And there was a reduction in the tumor size. And it was a very small study, and it was in the lab. But part of, I think, what happens is a lot of people say, oh, that's just the placebo effect. You think they're giving you something, and therefore you feel better. Well, this is one of the first times I think that they are starting to show, and more study is needed, but they're starting to show, look, there wasn't a human, it was just the cells. And the people put Reiki in those cells, and I don't know the percentage, but the tumors shrunk. And so I get excited when I see modern medicine start to look at Reiki as something that can be an adjunct, and that's my hope. I don't know if it'll be in my lifetime.
I need to look that up. That's amazing.
Yeah, it really was amazing. And one of the things also people can do is if they're unsure about Reiki, and this is what I tell a lot of, like if I have a tarot reading client come and I mention it, I'll say, well, you can go to Reiki Rachael's channel. She's got these little 10-minute chakra balancing Reiki, just dip your toe in the water. It's free. You don't have to see if you feel different, see if you feel anything. And what if someone did want to get in touch with you and they wanted to, explore Reiki, what's the best way for them to find you?
Yeah, I love that you've recommended people to that, because my YouTube would be the main one, Reiki Rachael. And the reason that I decided to put so much of my energy into YouTube is because I wanted to give this away to people that might not know, don't have the resources to pay for a session, might not know if a session is worth it, right? So, I decided, or I was really divinely guided, to try to spread this in a way that was, safe, loving, gentle, that anybody, absolutely anybody could have access to. And so on my YouTube, I have many different activations where I channel Reiki, and like I said, I'll tap into different frequencies and channel those as well. So yeah, that would certainly be the best one, or ReikiWithRachael.com is my website.
Fantastic. And you also have on YouTube, if you go to the playlists, and you have angel healing, you have twin flame healing. So there's a whole plethora, a whole menu for people to look at. And I know my friends are like, are you going to suggest Reiki Rachael again? I'm like, it's so good. It's so good. So I really am just so honored and feel so grateful to have connected with you. And, the fact that you helped me become a Reiki Master is also awesome. But I do want to just say the fact that you give it freely, and I think people can feel that, people can feel that love that's being freely given. And I think a lot of times that's why so many people do come, because the intention behind it was of generosity and of gratefulness. And so I just want you to know that I feel that, my friends feel that, and we're just so grateful that you're here.
Thank you. Oh.
Thanks so much for being with us. And if you can, drop a like, follow, or share this podcast. If you need to get in touch with me, you can do so at spirituallightwisdom.com. Remember, we're all connected, and these are just some of the stories that weave us together. For the Tapestry of Connection, I'm Gena Frances. Until next time.